She was born into silence. No grand fanfare, no hint of the worldwide fame waiting for her. Ingrid Bergman entered the world on August 29, 1915, in Stockholm, Sweden. But the girl who would later light up the silver screen was first shaped by shadows, by grief, by loneliness, by an aching kind of resilience. How does a child who loses her mother at 3 and her beloved father by 12 grow into a woman whose eyes would speak more than entire scripts? Raised by relatives in a quiet world far from cameras and scripts, Ingrid's early life was filled with stillness. Yet even then, there was something brewing beneath that quiet. Her father's passion for photography left a mark, not just through his lens, but in how he captured her essence. That early connection to images, to performance, stuck with her. Acting wasn't a career goal. It became a language. The only one that made sense when real words fell short. Despite being shy and withdrawn, she found herself drawn to the stage. And once she stepped into the spotlight, it became clear. This wasn't just a girl trying to escape reality. She belonged there. At the Royal Dramatic Theatre School in Stockholm, the same school that once molded Greta Garbo, Ingrid's raw ability was shaped into something sharper, deeper. Her early Swedish films, especially the 1936 version of Intermezzo, captured the attention of Hollywood. But it wasn't just her beauty or her grace that stood out. It was the way she could feel everything, fully and honestly, right in front of the camera. When David O. Selznick brought her to America to star in the Hollywood remake of Intermezzo, audiences immediately saw the difference. She wasn't like the others. No forced glamour, no overdone charm, just honesty, quiet power, and a soft-spoken voice that somehow carried more emotion than most actresses could scream. Then came Casablanca, a role that would define her and yet never limit her. Ilse Lund, the woman caught between two great loves, two impossible choices. Opposite Humphrey Bogart, Bergman didn't just act, she became memory. That face, in Rick's Cafe, haunted by love and regret, was burned into the hearts of millions. And still, she gave more. In Gaslight, she didn't just win her first Oscar. She redefined what psychological drama could be. Her portrayal of a woman slowly losing her sense of reality, manipulated by the man who should have protected her, was chilling, heartbreaking, and painfully real. She wasn't afraid to show vulnerability, to fall apart on screen. And then in Hitchcock's Notorious, she gave us another version of herself, brave, sensual, and conflicted, standing tall beside Cary Grant in a story twisted with espionage and betrayal. But just as her Hollywood life soared, Ingrid made a choice that stunned the world. She left the glamour behind and moved to Italy. With director Roberto Rossellini, she dove into something raw, unpolished, and controversial. Films like Stromboli and Journey to Italy weren't made to please crowds. They were about truth. The real, ugly, beautiful kind. And while audiences didn't get it then, those works would go on to inspire generations of filmmakers. Still, she paid a steep price. The world that once adored her turned its back when her affair with Rossellini became public. She had been married to Peter Lindstrom, a respected neurosurgeon, and their marriage, already strained by distance, crumbled. When she gave birth to Rossellini's daughter, Isabella, the scandal exploded. Senators denounced her, fans turned cold, and Hollywood slammed its doors. But Ingrid never apologized for living honestly. Her marriage to Rossellini, intense and full of creative fire, also gave her twin daughters and a son. Yet the passion that brought them together wasn't enough to hold them forever. They divorced in 1957. Her third marriage to Swedish producer Lars Schmidt offered something calmer, something steadier. For nearly 2 decades, he supported her work on stage, away from the blinding noise of the film world. But even that chapter closed with divorce in 1975. Through it all, she carried herself with a grace that refused to break, even when everything else around her seemed to. One of the most touching glimpses into Ingrid's soul came from her reflections on working with Gregory Peck. She described him as massive, not just in size, but in spirit. His quiet strength, his depth, The way he could make silence speak louder than words, all of it left her in awe. There was no drama between them, no scandal, just respect. She didn't need to be in love to feel something profound. With Peck, it was admiration in its purest form. But even legends bleed. In the 1970s, while performing in The Constant Wife, Ingrid found a lump in her breast. The diagnosis was cruel. Breast cancer. The surgery, the treatments, the toll, it didn't stop her. She worked through the pain, even as her body weakened. In Autumn Sonata, directed by Ingrid Bergman, no relation, she delivered one of the most gut-wrenching performances of her life. Behind every line, you could sense the weight of her own suffering. It wasn't just acting anymore, it was survival. And yet, she kept going. In 1981, with her body already ravaged by cancer, she took on the role of Golda Meir in A Woman Called Golda. She was fragile, tired, and visibly ill. But on screen, she was steel. That performance won her a posthumous Emmy and Golden Globe, the final stamp on a career that never stopped demanding the best of her. When the camera stopped, she retired quietly to her London apartment in Cheney Gardens. Treatments continued. Her spine collapsed. Her lungs struggled. Yet there was no bitterness. Just quiet acceptance. Ingrid Bergman passed away just after midnight on her 67th birthday. A poetic end to a life filled with intensity and art. Lars Schmidt, her former husband, was by her side, raising a final glass to the woman he never truly stopped caring for. On her bedside table was The Little Prince, a story about seeing with the heart, not just the eyes. A fitting choice for someone who always believed in what couldn't be easily explained. Her funeral, held at the majestic St. Martin-in-the-Fields in London, brought together over 1,000 mourners. Her children, her extended family, friends from every corner of the world, and giants from the theater and film world came too. Liv Ullmann, John Gielgud, Wendy Hiller. Shakespeare was read. Songs played that brought tears and smiles. As time goes by, echoed through the church, not just a memory of Casablanca, but of everything she gave to the world. Her grandson, Justin Daly, remembered the chaos, the flashing cameras, the overwhelming realization that she no longer belonged to just them. Ingrid Bergman had become something more, an icon, a legacy, a light that refused to dim. Behind the fame was always the girl who lost everything young but chose to live with intensity, with truth, and without shame. So when people talk about great actresses, they might list awards, roles, or box office numbers. But with Ingrid, it was always about something deeper. It was the feeling she left behind. The ache in your chest when she cried, the lump in your throat when she smiled through pain, the sense that you weren't just watching a performance, you were witnessing a soul. If this story moved you even a little, if you felt the weight of Ingrid Bergman's life and the beauty of her strength, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.